Story 1. How to handle medical emergencies. This will save so many lives. Story 2. I am going to cheat and name two things. 1. How to talk with someone you have just met. 2. Managing money. Story 3. In this day and age, the art of conversation is important. I hope this can help someone. Story 4. Communication skills are essential in the modern world. Story 5. Not just listening, but actually hearing and engaging in critical thinking and independent thought. Story 6. Critical thinking. Everyone else said communication, which would have been my second answer. Story 7. The art of conveying your feelings and the art of good conversation. Story 8. I enjoy cooking and swimming, though obviously not at the same time. The number of people who cannot do either is astonishing to me. Story 9. Learning to fight. Learning to fight builds confidence and teaches you discipline. By discipline, I mean it makes you aware that you yourself can be hurt. I have a theory that men who do not know how to fight are more likely to be abusive in several ways. Emotional bullies at work, also known as people who avoid responsibility, cut corners, disappear when jobs need doing, or use sneaky tactics to get others into trouble or make their work harder. Domestic violence against women. A fragile ego that leads them to provoke fights. Story 10. There are too many to name, but basic first aid is probably the one that comes to mind most prominently. Story 11. Sales really helps with conflict resolution, such as when you get into arguments with friends, family, and so on. Story 12. I'd say effective communication. No matter what career you're in, being able to clearly express your ideas, listen actively, and adapt your message to different people makes a huge difference in both your professional and personal life. Story 13. How to actively listen and comprehend, not just wait to speak. Story 14. Being human includes acknowledging one's own dark spots and being open to both learning and love. Story 15. Financial literacy and household finances should be taught in high school. Money issues are a leading cause of divorce and life dissatisfaction. Although life circumstances can be difficult, many financial problems stem from unsound financial decisions and a lack of understanding of how to manage money. Story 16. You can use the calculator on your phone to multiply two numbers, the monthly payment and the number of months. This television costs $600, but you can pay $30 a month for 60 months. Great, or is it? $30 times 60 equals $1,800. So no, it is not a good deal. You would pay 3 times the price. All it takes is using the calculator on your phone to multiply the monthly payment by the number of months. But many people cannot or will not do that. Story 17. Communication means talking to people from different walks of life than your own. Story 18. Communication definitely makes everything in life easier. Story 19. Ninja skills. Wearing those two-toe shoes to work makes you stand out from the pack and ensures you are noticed. No boss will risk passing you over for a promotion if they fear a blow dart to the neck. I also sprout mung beans on wet paper towels in my desk drawer. They smell like death but make a tasty snack. Story 20. How to embrace being a beginner. Learning a new skill comes with awkwardness, and you can only grow your career if you learn to work through it. My ex stalled his career because he refused to try anything he wasn't already good at. Sometimes you have to admit you feel inexperienced and say, okay, I don't know this yet, but let's figure it out. Story 21. The silent art of actually listening to the other person. Story 22. The phrase "I cannot cook" does not exist. You just have to try things out or follow recipes. Story 23. Basic cooking. With the rising prices of everything, it is time to stop eating out except for special occasions and to cook your own meals. You do not have to make anything labor-intensive, just enough to stay healthy and satisfy your palate. Story 24. How to think logically and critically evaluate presented ideas. Story 25. Please read the documents you were provided and the reference materials from credible sources. Everyone's work will be much easier if people take the time to read what they should once in a while. Story 26. Selling yourself. Most jobs go to someone the employer likes because there are usually half a dozen qualified candidates. Story 27. Everyone needs to be able to change their work focus quickly. There is no such thing as a job for life. Now, with the rising tide of artificial intelligence, you will have to learn new skills as quickly as possible. I doubt people will even stay in the same industries anymore. Story 28. Voluntary additional contributions to their superannuation. Story 29. Basic business courses include business law, accounting, marketing, finance, investing, and more. Story 30. Touch typing and communication skills, especially public speaking, giving presentations, and writing business or professional emails. Story 31. Excel is still important. Even when you have tools to track work, management wants to see results in Excel. It is also helpful for budgeting and other practical tasks. Story 32. I always thought there were two life skills everyone should be taught: how to swim and how to cook. Story 33. Basic computer and technology literacy, including how to use artificial intelligence to make their lives and jobs easier. Story 34. Learn how to make coffee on a proper espresso machine, steam the milk, dial in the grinder, and maybe even learn a bit of latte art. Bonus points if you learn to roast your own beans. Story 35. Writing. I have worked with, volunteered with, and been friends with many people who cannot write clear and organized thoughts. Writing is followed by reading comprehension and listening, which may be the most important of all. Story 36. Social media marketing builds a personal brand. It opens up avenues you cannot even imagine. Story 37. How to manage your money, invest your assets, and plan for retirement even if you are young today. Story 38. How to make a presentation in a clear and confident way. Whether you are selling yourself, presenting a project, or asking for a raise, this is a critical skill. Story 39. Cooking. Limiting how much convenience food you eat is better for your health and saves you a lot of money. Story 40. Many important topics should be taught first, such as communication skills, money management, and first aid. Story 41. Sewing and mending clothes at the last minute is a good skill to have. Story 42. Cooking is expressly for adults. I can't believe some people can't even make a simple meal. Story 43. How to feel for a punctured artery in a gunshot wound to stuff gauze into it. Story 44. How to speak and reason, regardless of the other person's opinion. Story 45. Learn touch typing and at least one other language. Duolingo encourages me to practice a little every day. Story 46. How to spell. Basic grammar rules. Basic math. You'd be surprised. Story 47. Presentation skills for an audience are useful for overcoming nerves and communicating with people. Story 48. Airway, breathing, circulation, disability. Story 49. Sales affects your entire mobility in life, regardless of industry or social setting. Story 50. Statistics are used to evaluate risk. Few people assess risk correctly. Story 51. Reading sheet music at a very basic level. I do not expect everyone to be able to sing or play music, but I feel people should at least know what the most common symbols on a music score mean, including notes and rests. Story 52. I learned gardening, home economics, woodworking, and husbandry. I grew up outside the United States, and we were taught these skills beginning in 5th grade, equivalent to 4th grade based on age. Story 53. Swimming is an easy but important life skill. If you fall into the water, you do not have to drown. Story 54. Financial literacy. Managing your money and investing basics. Clever Real Estate 2025 report indicated that 37% of people who are already retired have no savings at all. The survey also found that half of United States retirees have less than $145,000 saved, significantly below financial planner recommendations. A 2009 Sports Illustrated article reported that 78% of National Football League players face financial stress or bankruptcy within just 2 years of retiring. In the National Basketball Association, the figure is similarly grim, with around 60% of players going broke within 5 years of retirement, according to the same report. While players in Major League Baseball tend to have longer careers and often higher salaries, A study by the Sports Business Journal indicated that just 5 to 6% of them declare bankruptcy within 12 years of retiring. Story 55. Learning to manage stress, recognize the signs of burnout, and take care of your mental health. Story 56. Basics of sewing. Learn how to patch a hole, sew on a button, and other basic tailoring skills. A sewing kit costs only a few dollars at a dollar store. The basic stitches everyone should learn are the whip stitch, also known as overcast, the back stitch, including the running back stitch, and the ladder stitch. If you can hold a needle and push it through fabric, you can learn these stitches and hem your own clothes. Story 57. It is interesting, but this generation needs to learn customer service. Many service industry workers do not know the first thing about it. Story 58. Cooking. Living alone. Not depending on others for happiness. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Empathy. Story 59. How to master the universal serial bus type A cable. Do you get it right on the first try? Or is it always the rule of 3 that makes it work? Story 60. How to be patient with people who do not yet have your skills or who are new to the job. Story 61. Many people offer advice about critical thinking and communication skills. My suggestion is more mundane. Learn at least the basic features and formulas in Microsoft Excel. I have had a variety of jobs. The ability to compile information into spreadsheets and to use formulas and other techniques to quickly extract and organize that information in useful ways has helped me a great deal. Story 62. How to think for yourself and avoid being easily manipulated or brainwashed. Story 63. Cooking is one of the main skills, along with swimming and basic accounting. Story 64. Tetris. Being able to pack and load things efficiently is awesome. Story 65. Aside from first aid and conversational skills, learn basic homeowner tasks. Learn how to turn off your water main and gas lines, change air filters, disconnect a P-trap, and fix your toilet valve. Story 66. Murder and how to make a proper grilled cheese sandwich, of course. Story 67. Basic financial literacy, understanding how to budget, save, and manage debt, is a crucial life skill that reduces stress and builds a secure future, regardless of your profession. Story 68. If you are learning something that helps at work but is not necessarily a skill for your specific job, learning how to get along with people and being reliable is valuable. Some people may say these are not skills, but they can be learned, and some people are better at them than others, which makes them skills in my view. They are generally called soft skills. You need to be reasonably competent at your job, but if you are reliable and people like you, you are likely to succeed in your career. I would rather have people who are good at their jobs, whom I can count on, and whose company I enjoy than any rock star. If you are a rock star at your job, likable and reliable, that is the trifecta. Laughing out loud. Story 69. As a 32-year-old male with a wife and 2 kids, I wish I knew more about cars, so I would save money on basic things like changing the oil and other maintenance. Story 70. How to write a business letter. This translates very well to email communication. Story 71. I think a useful skill is handling negative comments or bad news without becoming emotional. Often negative remarks are not intentional but reflect what someone sees in the moment. If you stay calm and do not overreact, people often remember that. That is not to say you should be a doormat when someone belittles you or treats you poorly, but understand there is a time and place to respond rather than getting overly emotional when someone says you are off track or your project has failed. Story 72. How and why to wash your hands properly. Use soap and water, not just hand sanitizer. Story 73. Mindfulness. The art of listening and being in the moment. Story 74. Learn a few knots. You do not have to be an expert, but everyone faces this at some point. Moving day or a camping trip. Learn these common knots. Bowline, alpine butterfly bend, trucker's hitch, constrictor knot. This basic set will get you through. Story 75. Learning social skills and being okay with someone having a different opinion. Story 76. Budgeting and sticking to your values when you make major life decisions. Story 77. How to make someone's day. It will help you go far in your career and in life. Story 78. Estimation. It is important to quickly understand the relative values and sizes of things, and more often than not, accuracy is not the primary concern. Story 79, Microsoft Excel. Being able to put data into a spreadsheet to tell a story is incredibly useful in any industry. You do not need to be an expert. 6 hours of YouTube can make you better than half the people in most office jobs. Story 80. Do not put spaces before punctuation marks. Why do people keep doing this? Story 81. Basic life support and first aid are essential. Imagine having a child and not knowing what to do in an emergency. Story 82. Effective communication is the root cause of many workplace and relationship problems. Story 83. Social etiquette. How to behave in public, including how to dress decently. Cooking. Cooking is one of the most basic human needs. Everyone has to eat. Cooking from scratch is even better. Balancing your finances. Review your bank statement at the end of each month to see where you spent or wasted money. Story 84. Social etiquette. How to behave in public, including how to dress decently. Cooking, the most basic human need. Everyone has to eat. Cooking from scratch is best. Balancing your finances. Review your bank statement at the end of each month to see where you spent or wasted money. Story 85. How to swim. About 1/3 of adults in the United States cannot swim the length of a 25-meter pool. Story 86. How to read an analog clock. Sorry, it bothers me when people say they don't know how to read a clock. Story 87. Common human decency, behavior, and first aid, I guess. Story 88. Cooking is an underrated skill. I wish I had learned more about it when I was younger. I have taught myself well over the last few years, and it is deceptively easy to make a good meal for yourself. It saves a lot of money and is much healthier. Story 89. How to counteroffer a job. If an employer makes an offer, respond with a counteroffer. Story 90. I think everyone should know some basic car maintenance, such as how to change a tire. You cannot always wait for roadside assistance. Story 91. I have been cooking since I was 8, and it is surprising to see adults so unfamiliar with basic tasks such as making eggs. Story 92. 1. Practical cooking with real ingredients helps you eat healthier, spend less, and feel better than you imagine. 2. Financial planning, from bills to retirement to investments. 3. Realistic expectations about relationships, from marriage to friendships. Story 93. 1. Social skills. 2. Empathy. 3. Listening to the other person instead of just waiting for your chance to speak. Story 94. First aid. My grandpa was a paramedic for 25+ years. I am very glad he taught me this. Story 95. Use hand sewing for quick fixes, like reattaching a button or hemming pants. I charge $30 an hour to hem pants, but I would rather you learn basic sewing repairs. The hem does not need to be invisible or perfectly spaced. Learn to repair your own clothing so I do not have to spend an hour fixing something you could do yourself. Story 96. Using a computer. We are far beyond the era when people say I am computer stupid. Story 97. Maybe not skill but experience. Living with roommates and working in customer service. Story 98. Communication skills in any form are important for building connections, friendships, and relationships. They also increase your chances of getting raises, recognition, or bonuses. As a manager or team leader, strong communication makes you more likely to be respected, followed, and seen as an example. Good communication can help you avoid trouble or navigate dangerous situations. It can also be used to persuade others, for better or worse. Story 99. How to avoid asking questions on the AskReddit subreddit that have already been asked thousands of times. Story 100. Crisis management. I learned some crisis management skills when I was training to be a manager at a pizza place a few years ago. Last year, I was having lunch with my nephew for his birthday when a tornado came through. Out of about 10 people in the restaurant, I was the only one who had the slightest idea what to do. It baffled me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.